So it's been 2 years since OpenAI launched ChatGPT. Now, most coaches still haven't figured out how to use it to save them time, create more flow, help them grow their businesses just yet. There's been a few exceptions out there. Now, those exceptions are usually people that had a big following and they converted that into selling you some type of AI platform. I'm going to give you a little tip right now. I do not think that a specific platform to solve a specific problem with AI, a specific software, is really a great idea yet. The best thing you can do is learn how to use it yourself, which we're getting into right now. But here's the truth. AI is not a magic wand, not yet anyway. It's a multiplier. It amplifies your strengths and it also exposes your weaknesses a lot faster, which has been really helpful for me because a lot of times it could take months for me to find out where my weakness is at. But in real time, I get it back and I get the feedback, and it's been really, really helpful. So the hype can be really seductive. You've seen the ads, click a button, get results. But when you try, the results often fail and the instructions are unclear, or you do the thing and it doesn't really give you the results that you're looking for. So I've been there. It's going to waste, like a lot of time, for most people, AI is going to waste your time unless you know how to use it strategically. And I wasted, quote unquote, wasted time. I wasn't wasting my time. What I was doing is I was investing heavily with my curiosity, and now it's become strategic. But here's the thing, you don't have to beat through the bushes as much as I did because I already did it. I've got a little AI template. You can check it out down there to get a little taste of what's going on. I also have a little community where that we just started, where we're talking about how to use AI effectively in your business. So the good news is I play for a living, so I got to do all this stuff for you. And I signed up for countless services along the way, only to find myself back at ChatGPT. Now, I'm now playing around with Google Gemini and Grok 2, and the thing that is interesting about them is these are general AI platforms that can do a lot of different things. And so what I'm talking about right now is like all these little services that solve a specific problem using AI, which they're just using ChatGPT in the background usually. I don't think those are very good right now. And I don't think they're going to be, that's not a worthwhile business to be building right now. So, anytime I started playing around with these specific platforms, like we can do this thing better, what I figured out is I can actually do it better because I understand marketing, for instance. So if I'm looking for a marketing solution and then I go use a marketing software that's powered by AI, didn't really work the way that I thought it would, or thought the way that it was marketed. And so then I go into my own ChatGPT and I go, oh, because I understand how marketing works, then this is actually going to give me a better output. So I had a lot of trial and error in the beginning, as I'm sure you have too. And I really got to a place where I started treating AI and ChatGPT as more of a collaborator. And it really caused me to create better prompts and get much more specific, which does take more time. I think one of the things that I was thinking early on was like, wow, this is gonna be so good because it's gonna just do a lot of things for me. But then I realized that I had to get really specific about what it is that I wanted in order to get the output I desired, which has caused me to be to really focus my thoughts better in general and in life. And so I've gotten much more specific. So there's a huge benefit to interacting with AI platforms. So any of them. The one thing that I've really learned to appreciate is being able to reduce the amount of energy I give to the mundane and then spend more energy in the creative space with AI. And so here's some of the things that like separate when I'm looking out at different people that are using these tools. This is what separates the winners from the wannabes. One, delegate the mundane. So people are using it to free their minds up for deep creative work. That's something that I've been able to accomplish, is spending way more time in contemplation, more time in writing, and more time going back and forth. Another thing that you really want to be doing is experimenting boldly. AI thrives on iterative, playful use, because if we everything that all the ways in which we've used software and technology before aren't going to work the same way. If we try to think about it as something we've already done, we're going to put this really infinite thing in this tiny box. And so it's be bold in your experimentation and be playful as well. Focus on results. And what I mean by that is it's not about doing more, it's about achieving more. So just like the use in technology in any case up in human history up until this point is you could make yourself really busy, or you could use it to really drill down and get the results that you're looking for, if that makes sense. So the world of AI is advancing at a remarkable pace. 80% of my work happens on AI platforms, and it might even be higher than 80% at this point. I do a lot of writing, and so a lot of that writing is not with AI, but I'm using it pretty heavily in the editing phase. I listen to a few hours of podcasts and read several newsletters each week to keep up on everything. And that's because I'm more of a serial entrepreneur. I do a lot of coaching and consulting, but I'm really a serial entrepreneur. So it's probably why my mind is gravitating to this more than most coaches. Because when I talk to most coaches, they're not really digging into it to the same degree. They may be using it for this or that, but it hasn't seeped into every part of their business yet. And so I'm not having AI write for me, but it is helping me edit, and it's been really, really useful. In fact, I keep going back over time and saying, well, maybe this can write some stuff for me. And every time I have it write something or I go write something and then I see if it can write it better in some way, it really doesn't. It really, it may be more grammatically correct, or it might have a better naming of certain things for what I'm talking about, like titles and subject lines and that kind of stuff. But the body of the content usually just lacks this spirit. It really lacks this spirit. And I really think that as time goes on, people are going to be able to pick up on the nuance of whether that spirit exists or not. And so even though AI is incredibly useful for your creative writing or things like that, I think it's still a really good practice to be writing things yourself and then using it as a collaborator after you've gotten your initial idea flow out. And so I've got 12 rules for AI optimization. And so if you can master these rules, it'll transform your workflow. I put a lot of thought into this. There's been a lot of, there's like an initial list of 7 rules, and then I took some out and put some more in. So these rules may change over time. But rule number 1, I've already mentioned it a little bit here in this video, is treat AI as your collaborator. It's here to think with you. It's here to think with you, not for you. So don't think about it as a technology. It's a conversation. Think about it as a conversation you're having. It's a software that thinks, reasons, and solves problems. Software didn't do this before. 10 years ago, software was not reasoning and solving problems. It's starting to do that now. And so this is very different than what you've had before. So treat it more like a person in a conversation. That may seem strange. I mean, some people started naming their AI bots and this and that and forming relationships. Pretty wild. I'm into it. I slipped up one day, and but I was talking to somebody, and then I referred to ChatGPT as her, and it in a natural conversation. And I had never done that before. And I go, oh, okay, this is getting serious. So you want to be, so rule number 2, be specific. Vanilla prompts get vanilla results. If this is challenging for you, this is happening for you in other areas of your life. Hence the vanilla results there too. So I really love ChatGPT. I love Gemini and Grok all of these platforms are really good at highlighting how general we may be. And one of the concepts in personal development and cognitive development that I've learned over the years is the specificity in which we can describe something and to define, to take what is infinite and to define it and create exactly what we want in a pinpointed way is what's actually going to create the results that we want in our world. And when I started using ChatGPT, I go, wow, it was giving me back really general stuff, and then I give it more specific stuff, and it gave me back specific stuff, and I go, okay, we are creating with our words. With our words, we create abracadabra. That's what that means. And so I'm seeing this happen in real time. I go, wow, I thought I was being pretty good with my words, but this AI is letting me know it's giving me instant feedback on how specific I'm being, and it's been fantastic. So I've become more specific in every area of my life because of this. So that's rule number 2, be specific. Rule number 3, always refine. Iteration is the secret to quality. So that means don't accept the first result it gives you. Give it feedback on what it gave you. And there are so many ways to do this, and I'm still discovering new ways to do this all the time. But when I get something back, I say, hey, that was great, and I prefer for it to come back in this or that kind of way. There's now with ChatGPT, there's now a function in there called Canvas. You can basically just type in there and say, hey, can we open this up in Canvas and have a conversation about it? And what that allows you to do is to then collaborate on what was created, either something you created or an output it gave you, and then go back and forth and get more clarity and get more specificity and refine and go back and forth. And so what I see these programs doing is they're able to, in the future, there's going to be different ways in which that happens. So ChatGPT came up with their own way of doing that. You can kind of do that inside of Google Docs with Gemini right now. But remember, the general theme is refine. Don't think that you have to put a single prompt in there and then that prompt is going to be the thing that is going to, you're going to get one thing back and that's going to be it. I find that I go back and forth to something 3 to 8 times before I get to the quality of the results that I'm looking for. And as you can see, that's how I've been training me. It's been training me on to become more specific because it gives me a result and then I refine. And I think a lot of times in my life, I was looking for, I'd be in conversations. I tend to process out loud. And so I'm refining with somebody externally and they're getting tired of hearing me talk. And with AI, it doesn't get tired of hearing me talk and I'm able to reiterate and refine with it. And so it really helps me sharpen my own thoughts. Rule number 4 is context matters. Set the scene like a pro. This is becoming easier to do. Explain what you're up to like it's a person. I'll treat it like it's a person. Give it all the details. Say I had an employee, then I would explain it to them. I explain it to ChatGPT in the same way. So think about why you're prompting it. Let it know why you're prompting it. Like what's the context? It'll pick up on a lot of things that are really surprising. And then on top of that, these AI platforms are now using memory. So it's creating context about who you are and how you like to use it. So there's context that's being built up outside of each chat thread. And that's improving all the time. And that's something you got to track for because I have to go into with ChatGPT specifically, I have to go in and delete some of the memory because some of it's not really applicable. I might have done a search for a recipe, but that's not really applicable to when I'm writing a newsletter about this AI and shit. So make sure that you give it context. It matters a lot. Rule number 5, templates are gold. Don't reinvent the wheel. So I've got a template down in the description. Like I said before, there's also a template on my website, bledsoe.life. There's a lot of really awesome templates out there and custom GPTs that were generated by people who are pros I've also been able to take techniques that I've learned. And for instance, I've learned to take techniques I've learned over the years in marketing and make custom GPTs. And I go, okay, I want, like, I have a custom GPT I created that generates a 9 email sequence when somebody first gets on your email list. And so you can go into there and say, hey, this is my product. And then it starts asking you questions, and then you build this 9 email sequence together. And so instead of you needing to dream up, like, well, what happens when someone gets on my email list? I go, oh, here's a template on how to build out the first email sequence of your email list. You're still going to generate it, but it's going to go back and forth with you in order to get the gold out. And then you're able to use that as a shortcut to, and a lot of these templates, like, you would have never been introduced to them ever before. Sometimes in the past, writing a 9 email sequence when someone first gets on my email list could take me a couple weeks to do. Like, I do one a day, and I spread it out. I can now knock out a 9 email sequence in an hour, and it'd be really high quality because I'm using these templates. And so I have a template specifically for. I have a few different types. I have one for, like, when someone first gets on the list, when we're launching something, and these are things that I share inside of our community. If you want to join there. Number 6, stay curious. AI rewards creativity. So remember to be playful with this. Be fun. And you're not going to break it. I know there's been a lot of things with all I'm 43 years old. And so I just remember playing with some software and some hardware when I was younger. I was a bit geeky. I was building computers and stuff in my teens, taking them apart, learning about them. And there was always like, oh, if I break it, and I learned, I'm like, if I break it, there's a way to fix it. But it's not always obvious. But the thing about AI is you're not going to break it at all. So just be playful. If you have, like, this fear of breaking things, or if you have a fear of taking things apart and putting them back together, it's really, I think that sometimes we can be scared we're going to break it. I know that pops up for me a bit. So just give it a shot. And a lot of times I've been pleasantly surprised when I say, hey, I'm just going to put this prompt in and see what happens. I've learned a lot by just being playful with it. And then you can always delete memory. You can always delete the thread. It's no big deal. There's a lot of things that I've tried that didn't really work the way I imagined they would, and I scrapped them. But there's some things I tried out that was just fucking great. Rule number 7, learn as you go. Learn as you go. ChatGPT is a 155 IQ coach in your pocket. Yeah, that's right. ChatGPT has the IQ of 155. That is 5 points under Albert Einstein, who was Mr. 160. And so consider that. Like, that's always in your pocket. I have the upgraded version or whatever. The premium version, I'm able to access it on my phone. I can just straight talk to it. It's becoming more and more common for my wife and I be driving down the road and getting into a discussion about something, and she'll go, well, what is that? And I go, I could tell you, but let's ask ChatGPT instead. We hit the button, boom, pops up, gives it even more details than I would have given. I learned something along the way. And so I guess in that case, not only is it a 155 IQ coach in your pocket, it's also something that can improve your relationship. Have a third party come in that's smarter than both of you to settle things. But yeah, keep that in mind. It's always there. Like, you always have it, unless, of course, you leave your phone and go for a walk, which I do at least once a day. I get away from it, but it's right there. Remember that you have a coach in your pocket. In fact, a lot of the things in our Coach Flow systems, that's the online community we have where we're doing a lot of AI stuff. Inside of there, there's a lot of things that I created templates and custom GPTs and instructions on how to use AI that really fill the gaps on what I used to do. I spent hours coaching people through things that I now just go, here's a single page Google Doc, go have this conversation with ChatGPT. If you have it in this very specific way, it's going to give you a similar result to the way in which I would have coached you. And because I'm basically like generating little GPTs that coach people the way that I like to coach. Maybe one day I'll have like this master GPT where you just get coached by me. And that's probably where we're going, but it's right there all the time. It's right there all the time. And if you're in the community, you'll get access to a lot of that stuff. Rule number 8, delegation wins. Practice handing off tasks to AI. So the people who are getting the most out of AI already have the experience of delegating to humans. So it's a foreign concept to most people. And I know this because I have coached so many people who started their own business. So primarily coaches, but I've coached quite a few people who were starting their own business in a lot of different fields. And it's really, really common is like the delegation thing usually takes years to learn how to do. Years. And people who've been in business for a decade still struggling with it. And so if you're having a hard time delegating to a robot, then that makes sense. And I think that's why the people who are really good at using it have been running businesses for a while and are able to delegate to it. And I think that's one of the benefits that I've had, because I've had long stints in business where I was delegating. I've also had really enjoyable times in business where I wasn't needing to delegate too much. But if you have practice delegating, you'll do well. And if you don't, then just keep that in mind as you work with the tools that you're actually learning to delegate through ChatGPT. And of course, because it doesn't have emotions and because it's there 24/7, you're going to be, this is like training wheels for delegation. Learn to delegate, but this is like training wheels for the delegation. All right. Rule number 9, lead with intention. So there was a saying by my great grandmother. We called her Granny Jack. She said, "Garbage in, garbage out." She was talking about information, watching the kids watch garbage television and then garbage things coming out of your mouth. But lead with intention. So hold your intention as you get deeper into the conversation. So with these AI chat platforms, you can get off into the weeds just like you can on YouTube. You can get out into the weeds. And so it's good to hold that intention and keep asking yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I in this conversation? And keep bringing it back. And especially if you're using it in business, a lot of times you can end up off track really far. But the really cool thing is you're getting the feedback so much faster. Like I've seen coaches waste months going to explore something they think is gonna be really good, and only to come back and go, oh shit, I got distracted. But I think that with AI, you're able to notice that you got distracted a lot faster. But just keep that in mind as you're going. I think that rule just applies to life in general. Lead with intention. Be deliberate. Be deliberate. All right, rule number 10. Stay skeptical. Spot check AI's outputs. So, just like humans, AI tools hallucinate. So, humans made these things. So, of course, they're going to hallucinate. They got biases as well. And so, hallucination is actually a term in the AI world. And it just means that one of the reasons it happens is because it's always going to generate an answer, but if it doesn't know the answer, it will make something up and it'll get off track. And so you got to spot check this as you go through. And this is why it's really good to be an expert at whatever it is that you're working on ChatGPT with, because I've noticed, like for instance, I'm probably in the 90 to 95% percentile of copywriters and just writers. And I just noticed so many mistakes. I noticed that there's a lack of spirit in it. The average person who doesn't spend a lot of time writing might get in there and go, "Oh, this is pretty good," and they post it online and they don't know why it's not getting the best results. And so, it you can collaborate with it, but you really, as you're collaborating with it, stay skeptical of the things it's giving you, especially if you're not an expert in that field, and use that as an opportunity to learn about that thing. So, I think one of the fastest ways to learn about something now in 2025 is to get into a conversation with ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, one of these platforms, get into a conversation with them about the topic and go back and forth and ask. And now these platforms are also citing where they're getting the results from and can make recommendations. So this is a really fast way to learn something, way faster than, watching YouTube videos. Keep watching, keep watching. Rule number 11, think beyond platforms. Don't lock yourself into just one. I've already been alluding to this the whole time, but be platform agnostic. Remember AOL? My grandmother thought AOL was the internet, and she thought that for her entire life. And so I think that we may laugh about that, but most people treat Google that way. If it doesn't come up in a Google search, it must not be on the internet. Or if it doesn't show up in a Google search, then maybe it's dangerous. Maybe we're not supposed to see it. So don't lock yourself into one of these platforms. They all have their own biases, and the bias they have is absolutely necessary for them to be able to give you meaningful results. So bias is not necessarily a bad thing, but they each have their own different biases. And the other thing is they also have their own strengths and weaknesses. So I may like ChatGPT for one thing, but I love Grok for another. Like Grok is on the X platform and is run by XAI. And what I love about Grok is it's giving me real world information in real time. And the data set that it's pulling from is from Twitter, from X. And so it's getting real live data all the time, and it's pulling from the internet as well. And so it's really good at finding out what's happening in the world right now and being able to grok the world now. And it does it better than ChatGPT. The other benefit that Grok has, and all these platforms cost something if you want them to work well, but one of the things I love Grok for is its image generation. It's really good at generating images. And if you've noticed, if you ever generate an image with any other of the image generation software out there, is they do a really poor job of getting words into the images and numbers. Grok has slam dunk on that. You can put whatever. I can say, hey, I want this word up top. I want this word on bottom. Actually, the graphic I use for this blog post, the video that this blog post is based on, and for this video was created by Grok. And I was able to say AI up here and then amplify your strengths down at the bottom. And so I really like it for that. Gemini is coming along and I think is actually going to pass up ChatGPT. And so it's also has a greater data set than ChatGPT in regard to what it can pull from. But ChatGPT's got its own benefits in that I can stay more organized in there. And so don't lock yourself into one. They all have their benefits and they're all in heavy competition right now. And so that's another reason I don't even like if I'm not even going to get locked into ChatGPT, Gemini, or Grok, one of these frontier models that are more general AI, why would I get locked into a really specific type of AI? Like right now in 2025 is the year to learn how to use AI. It's not the time to try to use some custom AI software to solve a very specific problem, because that's going to be obsolete in a few years. So go ahead and learn how to use AI. This is the year to learn how to use it. If you don't learn how to use it now, it's just going to be, the hill's only going to get steeper. And I know from studying technology since I was like 13 years old that, like when I was learning computers and technology, I was having to type in all of my prompts to make anything happen. And if there was one thing off, it didn't work. And so the fact that I understand how everything was built from that far back actually gives me so much context that makes it even easier for me to use all the modern technology. I understand it at a deeper level, so it's important to actually learn how to do this stuff if you want to be really good at it. So, rule number 12, last rule: use discernment, know when AI helps and when it hinders. So this is a little bit different than the stay skeptical one. So this one is more about like sometimes it's actually going to take you away from your goal, right? Like I could spend all day trying to get it to write the perfect article for me, or I could just sit and write the article myself, and then my own article is even better, right? And it's got that spirit in it. So really tap into and be paying attention of, is this wasting my time, or is it helping, or is it hindering me? Because it could be hindering you at certain points. And you also, there's sometimes it's worth exploring something, and sometimes it's worth just getting it done. So, so here's the thing. In 2008, my partners and I were the first CrossFit gym owners. I was talking about like studying technology. I've also been studying marketing. So in 2008, my partners and I were the first CrossFit gym to use digital marketing strategies. So I opened the gym in 2007. Around 2008, 2009, we started adopting digital marketing strategies, which at the time, like if you know anything about that year and what was going on with CrossFit, that's surprising. We started implementing lead magnets and email sequences. And by 2011, we started sharing those things. And by 2013, we began consulting others on using our step-by-step processes that we had developed. And over the last 11 years, I've worked with over 500 gyms and online coaches, and many of them are running 7 figures. Some are running 8-figure coaching businesses at this point. So I bring all this up because early in my career of consulting coaches and entrepreneurs on their businesses, I encountered some resistance. And some of the resistance I encountered then is similar to what I'm encountering now. And some were worried that the email automation tools lacked authenticity. So back then I was teaching, hey, use these email automation things. Nobody cares about whether email automation feels authentic now or not. Like everyone just does it. I never get that feedback anymore, right? But there was this fear that they were going to be perceived as inauthentic because they were sending automated emails. And it seems silly now, but email automation is now accepted everywhere and no one sees it as inauthentic. So fast forward to today, the concerns are the same around AI. And it's all about this fear of being perceived as inauthentic. And what you don't want to do is be one of these uneducated influencers and just copy and pasting AI generated content. People are going to sniff you out for sure. That is being inauthentic in a way. And so it's obvious. It can be gross. My wife picks up on this stuff so much easier than me, which is interesting. She's like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's AI generated. And so, and she can tell the difference. She does a lot of work on LinkedIn, and a lot of her lead generation comes from LinkedIn, and she does really well there. And she can tell when people are using AI generated stuff and just how poorly it's doing in that world. But it makes sense that you're going to see a lot more of that on LinkedIn because people are using it professionally, and they're probably just trying to use it as a shortcut. There's probably a lot less people on LinkedIn having creative expression. It's more about, how do I achieve getting this or that? But this trend of people that are afraid of AI, it's going to die. I mean, people are also afraid of email, just email in the early 2000s. So it's getting embedded in every aspect of our lives, and the integration is key. So coaches who embrace AI now are going to dominate tomorrow. Yes, it's going to take some time to learn how to use it. You'll invest more time into what you're doing, into learning it and utilizing it here in the beginning. But once you have it down, it's actually going to save you a lot of time and you're going to do really, really well with it. So I have the Coach Flow Systems community. So we're calling it Coach Flow Systems. And the community, you can check the link at bledsoe.life. You can get over there from there. It's a school community. So one of the reasons I started it as I didn't just make it a course is because everything's moving so fast. We actually all need to be collaborating together in order to learn at the rate in which things are changing. I've also priced it at a place where I am encouraging a lot of people to be there and to be in community. This is not a high ticket coaching program or anything like that. This is low ticket. This is a no brainer. Get in there, enjoy the community, enjoy some of the education. Some of the things that you can get in there, the education I put in there already so far is learn how to delegate mundane tasks to AI. So freeing up your time so you can think more about growing. I've got a bunch of ready to use templates that are going to simplify things you're already doing or things that you should be doing that you're not doing. And you'll be able to knock it out in a day. You're also just going to stay updated with cutting edge AI practices and strategies. And you're going to learn how to maintain, because one of the big things I'm real big on is that authenticity and have authentic connection. And so you want to maintain your authenticity over time by integrating well with it instead of just treating it as something that's going to do something for you. So we teach you how to do that. And then I have weekly discussions. I do Zoom calls. You can hop on there with me where we can help you troubleshoot and enhance your use of the AI tools. So check that out. Again, bledsoe.life. That's the blog. There's links to everything there. And let's make 2025 the year that you master AI.